Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Good evening everybody. Today we are going to go over how to set up the eye controls. In the last video we went ahead and did the hand, and of course we can control the all the finger movements and everything, which is really cool. Woo! So here's the fingers. Let's jump up to the eye here, and you'll notice that before we can really set up any controls or constraints, that our eyes are not attached to anything. There's no bone in the head, and we never made one way back when we made this skeleton. No big deal. We can always add one. But before we do that, I want to put these guys on separate layers because there's a lot of geometry here, and it can be very cumbersome to see everything. So if you have not already set up your body on its own layer, select your body and layers, create from selected. Since I already have mine, I'm just going to go ahead and toggle my body layer off, and there's my eyeballs there. And if you have not put your eyes on a layer, go ahead and select those, and layers, create layer from selected. If you already have your eye layer, just go ahead and keep those visible because we're going to need the eyes. As far as the skeleton's concerned, I mean, we can put that on a layer as well. So I'm going to grab the base of the skeleton, and I'm going to add that to the layer, so create from selected. I'm just going to call that skeleton. And then I'm going to grab the controls on the right side of on the left side of the body here. So this one, ankle, that guy, and that one. Layers, create. This is going to be left. Controls. I'm going to grab all the ones on the right side. Create layer from selected. It's going to be right controls. And then the ones that are on the center of the body, go ahead and select all those. Create layer from selected. And this is going to be center controls. And you can color code these, and what's kind of cool is if you color code them, they'll change the color of the layer. So for my center controls here, I'm going to go ahead and choose green. And you can see that they change green with my layer. And if I grab my right controls here and I make those red and turn those back on, they'll be red. And if I grab my left controls and give them a different color, say blue, then when I turn those on, they'll be blue. So this is how you can color code your hierarchy. It's always fancy. You can do the same thing for your skeleton if you really want to. Give it a color, I'll say purple. No, we already have that as a color. Do this weird yellow color. And then you have, your skeleton will be the color of your layer. So if you wanted to do all that stuff, you could. Alright, getting on to the eye controls. Go ahead and toggle off the controls that you don't need. Skeleton, we'll need that. And then the body we won't need. And that should be good enough. Get in on here and select the left eye. I'm going to go into a front view. Hit F to frame up. I'm going to grab my joint tool. And I'm going to make sure that X-ray joints is on. X-ray joints is on. And there's my joint. What I want to do is I want this to be pretty much center of the eye. To make sure that I'm going to press 4 on the keyboard to bring up wireframe. And then I'm going to bring my move tool on. I'm just going to snap this to the middle of the eye by holding down the V key. And there we go. That's right dead center in the eye. I'm going to jump into a side view now and make sure that this is in the front of the eye. Right now it's in the back of the eye. So I'm going to hit 4 and I am going to snap this to the front of the eye. Okay. Now that that's in the front of the eye, I'm going to go ahead and name this. I'm going to call this left underscore eye. And then I'm going to press Control D to duplicate the joint. And I'm just going to drag this off. And I want to snap it to the center of the eye on the side. So right there. So if I look at the eye, you can see that the bone lines up in the exact center of the eye. And then I have the one in the front of the eye. And that one's left eye 1, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and grab the front joint. And then I'm going to hold Shift, select the back joint, press P, and that'll give us our connection. I'm going to take this joint here. I'm going to select the neck joint for this head joint here. And then I'm just going to press the P key to parent it. There we go. So there's the first eye joint set up. And I'm going to select this eye joint, go up to Skeleton, come down to Mirror Joints, Options. It's going to mirror across. I have Behavior selected, and I'm changing my left and my right values so that my L becomes my R. And boom. I'll go ahead and close. And just make sure on the left side, or make sure on the other side, that the joints are dead center of the eye. Looks like they are. No discrepancies there. And now we have to bind the joints to the skin. So go ahead and select the joint for the left eye, and then select the eyeball itself. Come up to Skin, go down to Bind Skin, grab the options. And in the options, we want to make sure that we have in our Bind To, by default it's set to hierarchy. We want to make sure we have selected joints, because we only want the main joint here, the parent joint of the eye, to be the one that controls it. We don't want to have any influence on this one in the front here. And we'll hit Apply. There it goes. And if I were to select that joint, I can move it. You can't see it changing because it's gray, but if we put wireframe on, you can see it right there, that it does in fact move with the eye. Alright, I'm going to set that rotation back to 0. And now I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to select the joint, and then select the skin. Make sure select the joints is on. And I am using geodesic voxel. It doesn't really matter, but whichever binding method you want to use. And then Apply. If your eyes were like a semicircle, like they were open, like an open form of geometry, they weren't like a closed sphere, geodesic voxel would be definitely what you want. But if it's a closed object, you can use any of these and it would work pretty much okay. I'm going to close that out now. So now I have my eyeballs attached to a skeleton, but I need to create the control rig for it. So to do that, I'm going to create a locator. The locator is this little guy right here. It's the one next to the joint, and if we hover over it, you can kind of see the words pop up here. If your words don't pop up, they will show down at the bottom, but you can see it says locator. All locator is some point in space that is represented by a little tick mark. So I'm going to create one of those, and it's really tiny down at the bottom. Just hit my move tool and bring that up. And what I want to do is I want to snap this locator in the center of the eye. So I'm going to do my left eye first. Hold down the V key, and then just drag this to the center. Make sure it's good and center. And I'm going to go out to the front of the eye. So I don't want to go right here. I want to have it to where I can grab it. So I'm going to pull it out to about here. So just snap it to there by holding X. And there's my first control. It's kind of tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and scale it up so I can grab it. Go ahead and name this locator. This is going to be the left eye control. and I will zero out the transform, so modify. I'm going to go to freeze transforms, but when you do this, it's going to shrink it. So if I freeze it, it'll shrink back to its original size, which I don't want to do. So to not have it shrink, I'm going to come up to modify, grab my transforms options, and just untick the scale option there. And now it'll zero out the others, and the scale will remain. Next, I'm going to duplicate this locator. So I'm going to do Control D, and I will move this locator to the center of the other eye. So hold down the V key and snap to the center of that eye. And make sure it's good in front. And we're just going to zero that out, so hit Apply. And then let's change the name of this to the right eye control. So to get these so it's easy to grab them and have them do their job, we're going to set up what's called an aim constraint so that the eyeball is aiming at the locator. So select the locator and then select the eyeball joint, so that main one in the back there. If you're hitting the skin, you're always welcome to toggle that off, so I'm going to toggle my skin off because I don't want to do that. So grab the locator, shift, select the joint, and then go up to Constraint, and we want to choose an aim constraint. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the options here. And I want to make sure maintain offset is on. Earlier I did not orient my joints, so when I do this, it's just going to flip them. In this case, it doesn't matter because there's no IK system going through here, so them being a little bit weird isn't going to be that big of a bug. But you might notice something like if you go to Unreal, you might notice they turn wrong. So if that's an issue, you're going to want to orient your joints. But this should be fine. I'm going to do maintain offset. I'm just going to hit apply. And that should make it so that when I grab this and I move it somewhere, the eyeball will do its best to look in the direction of that widget. So go ahead and zero that back out. And I will grab this one, and I will grab that one, and then apply. So now with this locator, if I move it, it should move the eyeball. Next, we're going to create a locator, or we're going to create a handle in the middle here that will maneuver both eyes. Right now we can maneuver one eye at a time, but we don't always want to do that. Most of the time the eyes are going to move as a joined group. So to do that, I'm going to come up here and create some sort of object. I'm going to go to Polygon Primitives, and for this I really like to use a cone just because it's pointy. So I'm going to grab a cone here, drag this up, and I will move this to the center of my eyes, so somewhere in between. That'll work. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees so it's pointing forward, and I'll hold down the V key and I will just snap this right about there. That works. I'm just going to move it forward now so that it is just ahead of my eye controls. I'm going to name this eye control. Or you can call it main eye control, whichever suits your fancy. I'm going to zero this out, so go to modify, grab my freeze transforms, and I will check scale, and I'll just go ahead and hit freeze transforms. And then the amount of detail on this is really high, so I'm going to go to polycone in my inputs here, and my subdivisions, I'm going to drop that down to 4. That way it's not too dense, but it does its job by pointing. Awesome. And the last two things we want to do is we want to parent these to this, and then we want to create a group and parent the group to the head. So grab the eyeball controls, select your main eye control, and then hit P to parent. So now when we move the main eye control, both eyes will go together, but I have the option to move one eye independently if I need to. So if I want to do like a cross eye kind of animation, or have them do googly eye kind of swivels, I can do that. Okay. And next I want to parent this main eye control to the head, but I can't just parent it, because if I do, and I'll show you that, if I select this and then I parent to here, you'll notice that the position right here in our controls attributes here, these are no longer zeroed out, because when we parent an object to another object, it inherits that object's coordinates. So to not have that happen, we're going to create a group. So I'm going to select this main control, and then Control G to group it. And this is going to be eye control group. And I'm going to parent the group to the head joint. Hit the P key. So now when I move the body, everything should flow together. So I'm going to turn my controls back on, so my center controls here. And if I move it, everything goes with it, and I still have the ability to control these objects independently if I need to. Go ahead and turn my other controls back on, and my eyeballs back on, and my skin back on. 5 will bring up shading, and there we go, we have the eye control. As far as this guy here, this little eye control being solid, we can always remove its color and information by going up to attributes, and then channel box, attributes, and then object display. Scroll down to drawing overrides, enable overrides, and just untick shading, texturing, and that should be just fine there. So now it's just a highlight or a outline like the rest of it. And we can put this in a group. So that would be under center controls, and then the left and right one would be under left and right controls. So if I grab the left one, I can put that under left controls. So select left controls, right click, go to add selected object. So now that one is on the left. Grab this one, get a right controls, right click, add selected object. And then my center one, I'm going to go ahead and right click and do add selected object to my center controls, and that should disappear. And yeah, when it does disappear, it does take the other controls with it because they are parented. Just be aware of that. But they'll come back when you turn it back on. And there we go. Now this one did not update as far as the color went, but that has to do with the way that it's grouped and everything. But that does conclude the basic setup for our character. And in the next few tutorials, we'll go over how to do the animation and bringing our skeletal rig into the Unreal Engine. Alright, and I will see you guys next time.